The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, he came out of the box earlier today swinging and ready to shoot down the massive lie that has been pushed endlessly by the Democrats and, of course, the Destroy Trump media about so-called Trump-Russian collusion, despite no evidence to this point. It has up to now been a complete and utter lie and a total fabrication. So when the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, was pressed about it by the Democrats, well, guess what? He punched back hard in a major way. Watch this.
I was your colleague in this body for 20 years, at least some of you, and and the suggestion that I participated in any collusion, that I was aware of any collusion with the Russian government to hurt this country, which I have served with honor for 35 years, or to undermine the integrity of our democratic process is an appalling and detestable lie.
Now, good for the Attorney General, and he wasn't finished, because once again, despite no evidence of so-called Trump-Russia collusion, the Democrats, they still continue to push this baseless black helicopter conspiracy theory. Take a look at this Testy exchange between the Attorney General and liberal Senator Ron Wyden.
Mr. Comey said that there were matters with respect to the recusal that were problematic and he couldn't talk about them. What are they?
Why don't you tell me? There are none, Senator Wyden. There are none. I can tell you that for absolute certainty. This is a secret innuendo being leaked out there about me, and I don't appreciate it. And I've tried to give my best and truthful answers to any committee I've appeared before. And it's really, people are suggesting through innuendo that I have been not honest about matters, and I've tried to be honest.
All right, checkmate. Now, what's so disgusting about all of this is that Democrats, including some who are actually on this Senate Intelligence Committee and were actually questioning Jeff Sessions today, have admitted themselves no evidence of collusion. Now, since some of these Democrats are so partisan that they have forgotten, let us remind them of their own words.
Do you agree with this conclusion that the president has reached, that there was no evidence of collusion?
You know, we haven't seen any of that whatsoever, George. We've been looking and showing everything that they possibly have. That has not led to that.
The last time we spoke, Senator, I asked you if you had actually seen evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians, and you said to me, and I'm quoting you now, you said, not at this time. Has anything changed since we spoke last?
Well, no, it hasn't.
I know we need to go soon, but just to be clear, there has been no actual evidence yet.
No, it has not been.
Okay. No, it has not.
Wow. So despite the fact that all those prominent Democrats have been forced, based on the facts as we know them, based on the evidence, to say no Russian collusion, no evidence at this time, well, many on the left and in the Destroy Trump media, they're still running completely insanely wild with the completely false conspiracy theory. Now, that just proves what we have been telling you on the show all along. This is not about getting to the truth, finding answers, finding out what the facts are. The Democrats, members of the liberal mainstream media, they don't care about any of that. Why? Because their goal, if we're going to be blunt and honest, is to destroy and discredit President Trump now by any means necessary. And in this case, that means embarrassing themselves by pushing debunked conspiracy theories. Now, the left in this country has become so unhinged about the Trump-Russia collusion conspiracy that doesn't exist that at today's hearing, Senator Tom Cotton, he decided to call it out for what it really is, a fantasy and something that you'd only read about in a Tom Clancy spy novel. Take a look at this.
Mr. Sessions, are you familiar with what spies called tradecraft?
A little bit.
That involves things like covert communications and dead drops and brush passes, right?
That is part of it.
Do you like spy fiction? John le Carré, Daniel Silva, Jason Matthews?
Yeah, Alan First. David Ignatius. Just finished Ignatius's book.
Do you like Jason Bourne or James Bond movies? Have you ever, in any of these fantastical situations, heard of a plot line so ridiculous that a sitting United States senator and an ambassador of a foreign government colluded at an open setting with hundreds of other people to pull off the greatest caper in the history of espionage.
By the way, I happen to love Bourne and Bond movies. All right, but in all seriousness, Senator Cotton absolutely nailed it here, and he deserves a lot of credit for calling out these Democrats and, of course, the Destroy Trump media's lies about what's really going on here. This has now become nothing more than a witch hunt, plain and simple. And there's another massive part of this story that involves actual scandals, actual crimes that have been committed that they're ignoring, something the Destroy Trump media refuses to tell you about. We'll tell you here on this show. Let's start with the leader of this political witch hunt. Right now, that would be special counsel Robert Mueller, who should be closing up shop. One, he has stunning conflicts of interest, like the fact he's known James Comey for years. They're good friends. In fact, Comey testified that the reason he had a friend leak a memo, which we believe is illegal, to the New York Times was to bring about the appointment of a special counsel. And big surprise, it ended up being Robert Mueller. And Fox News previously reported Comey's testimony last week was, quote, closely coordinated with the special counsel. So think about this for a minute. You have a disgruntled former fired employee in James Comey, clearly spiteful, clearly angry, out for revenge, and now one of his closest personal friends is now leading the investigation into President Trump, who Comey is accusing of wrongdoing. There is no way that this investigation can be fair or objective. It is now impossible. So who do you think Mueller is going to side with, his friend or the president? A friend, by the way, that he's going after. His friend is going after. This is a massive conflict of interest. It cannot be ignored, and that's why our colleague and friend Greg Jarrett here at the Fox News Channel, who will join us later in the program, is calling it all out. And according to Greg, Comey and Mueller's relationship may violate two federal laws. Here's the first one. And by the way, we'll just read the header, 28 CFR 452 or 45.2, disqualification arising from personal or political relationship. Now, that's what we're describing with Comey and Mueller's relationship. And here's the next law, 28 CFR 600.7. Conduct and accountability. Now, this says that the Attorney General can fire a special counsel if he or she has a conflict of interest. But that's not all. It gets even worse and more outrageous. Several outlets have reported that 3 key people on Mueller's investigation team have actually donated to the Democrats. Now, that's why we tonight are calling for this special counsel to be shut down. And by the way, that brings us to the real scandal that has been completely ignored by the media, by the Democrats. And the fact is this: the former Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, tried to obstruct justice by interfering in the FBI's Clinton email server investigation. Now, here's how James Comey described it last week in front of this very same committee. Take a look.
The Clinton campaign at the time was using all kinds of euphemisms, security review, matters, things like that, for what was going on. We were getting to a place where the Attorney General and I were both going to have to testify and talk publicly about it, and I wanted to know, was she going to authorize us to confirm we had an investigation? And she said, yes, but don't call it that, call it a matter. And I said, why would I do that? And she said, just call it a matter.
Wow. Add that to, of course, the tarmac meeting with Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton and much more. This is the real scandal here tonight, and it's only getting bigger. Circuit News' Sarah Carter, who will also be with us later tonight, she's been blowing this scandal wide open along with her colleague John Solomon. Now take a look at this headline. Comey got steely silence after confronting Loretta Lynch about Clinton's email probe. Now, according to Sarah's report, James Comey actually confronted Loretta Lynch over attempts to influence the Clinton probe. Now, if Robert Mueller wants to investigate real obstruction of justice, then he should be looking into Loretta Lynch and what she did. And if Democrats, if they want to talk about collusion, since their conspiracy theories about President Trump have now been completely debunked, then let's talk about Hillary Clinton colluding with Vladimir Putin, the Uranium One deal. And remember, she signed off as Secretary of State, handing over 20% of America's uranium to Putin and the Russians, of course, the foundational material to make a nuclear weapon. And while people, by the way, all involved in this deal, they were donating big bucks to the Clinton Foundation. And her husband, Bill Clinton, well, he was doubling his speaking fees in Moscow. Now, the propaganda media has completely gotten this wrong, and they're backwards. They've absolutely hit a new low. They're the worst. And as we have explained right here on this program, there are 5 forces now working to take down President Trump. This is a real, clear, present danger to the president you elected last November. First, of course, and I think the most dangerous, the deep state. Those selectively leaking information to damage the president. By the way, kind of like James Comey did. Second, the Destroy Trump media, a bunch of tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists caught red-handed, colluding with the Clinton campaign, as WikiLeaks revealed. Also, of course, you got the unhinged Democrats, a bunch of sore losers, obstructionists at this point, who, by the way, are just bitter about the election. They never got over the fact that Donald Trump won. And, of course, sorry to say it, you got weak, spineless Republicans, no backbone, never supported Donald Trump to begin with. And, by the way, and then you got the whole never-Trumper crowd. They want relevance. They want vindication. They want to see the president fail so they can say, see, we told you so. But this has now become a serious moment of truth for the United States of America. We're either going to lose to these forces and allow them to distract this president from getting people off of poverty, out of food stamps, and back in the labor force, buying homes, the president and the agenda you elected him to enact, or we can stop it right now, what they're trying to do to this man, because they don't want his success. Their success, his success is their failure. To do this, James Comey and Loretta Lynch need to be investigated. Robert Mueller needs to go. And with all due respect, it's time for Hillary Clinton to be prosecuted. Joining us now with